If I were a rich man.
Hello everyone, thanks for being here. Welcome back to the channel. Coach Mike is finally back, and he only farted I think once today during the wall. So we did this video, but we kind of lost the audio for it, so we'll get a second try at it. This is sort of a alteration on the rear naked choke from a slightly different position with sort of really specific hand and shoulder control, head and shoulder control. So if I've got Mike's back here, a lot of times, so we talked about this, and I've talked to a few people about this, and they have differing opinions. What I think is that if I have my hooks in here, this is really not a lot different than if Mike is in my full guard, right? So like technically, I think that Mike is on the top right now because he can use his base on the mat to drive into me and defend himself with the back of his head and stuff, and like make it really difficult, for me to do stuff. But if I don't have my hooks in, now this is more like sort of it's like a belly down back control, but he has his legs still. So from here though, now if he tries to push back into me and I have my shoulder underneath his head, now he's neck cranking himself because now the ground is essentially where my shoulder is underneath where his skull comes out from his neck. So if I can keep my shoulder, my head kind of wedged right in here so he can't recover this position, I can even like put my fist here, and if he tries to drive back into my hand, he's just neck cranking himself. So what I'm doing is I'm keeping the side of my head and this part of my head and shoulder right here. I'm getting my head close to his head. I'm getting on the same side of my head, I'm getting an underhook. So now the underhook is, and if I get a deep underhook, it's pretty good. So the underhook's preventing him from turning away this way. It's preventing him from going down a little bit along with my head and my shoulder. And now this arm can kind of rest on his shoulder blade on this side and cup like the top of his lat or his trap. Yes, to cup the top of his trap. So I've got this position now. My knees are important too. Now, so if we're trying to control someone from moving entirely, I need to primarily control his hips, secondarily his shoulders. Now, I don't have my hooks in, but I can still control his hips to some degree with my knees, the same way as if I was in his full guard, I would be pinching a little bit, just like stifling his hip movement a little bit there. So I've got his hips controlled a little bit, and I'm not like pinching super hard, I'm just monitoring where his hips are going so I can kind of stay with him if he starts moving. So now I've got all this, and now all I have to do is I'm using my head to drive his head that way, which he doesn't like, because now I have this grip, or this hand right on I find the back of his chin. So right here, my thumb is carving underneath his chin, and it's really uncomfortable. I can start digging it in, so that's gonna make him wanna turn away from that. So I'm going this way, and now he's running into my head. And my forearm is still behind his shoulder here. So now he's turning into my head, and I can start to block his head, and now I'm just moving my head and my hand towards each other like this, and really his only thing to do is raise his chin, because he can't come back down into he has to raise his chin, and now I have this really nasty choke, and as soon as I'm underneath, I can open my hand and find his shoulder, and now we're here, and all I have to do is start to bend my head and shoulder forward and just crunch him into this really nasty choke. So again, I've got hip control, underhook, I've got the shoulder blade, I've got the trap, my head and my shoulder are blocking him from being able to slide away from me down, and now I'm getting my thumb into his throat, and it's causing him to lift his head a little bit. I get across like this, and now we're just getting, So it's super nasty. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's great, and I think, like maybe the opportunity to attack this is there more than people think, right? Like in this seated position. And it's not hard when you're in maybe a side control looking for the back, it's not hard to sit somebody up to this position at all. So actually I made an attempt at this today. In our role. Utilizing underneath the head, hooking the armpit, I use that to sit up. Right, and then where I messed up today was I squatted in a standing slight squat position, and because of that I didn't have control over the hips, and I didn't recognize that until this talk.
Well, so I only recognize that because you got out of it that way. Because if you look at one of I think 2 rolls ago, I had the position, but I did the same thing. I stood up onto my feet, and then there's some space for your lower back to slip out the bottom.
Yeah, and I thought I was gonna corral you with my knees around your ribs, because I was in a squat.
Yeah,
right. Like I was like,
that's not gonna work because
slides out the bottom because of the hip mobility.
Yeah. So in order to neck crank them, you have to have
because you're and like, dude, you use a lot. You're utilizing the mat as a tool, right? Like connection, you know, which we talk about often, and sometimes. And like, if you don't get connection right away, it's okay. When it comes to you, it comes to you. Okay, it may have come to me, you know, much later than others.
I'll put the little clip in right here.
Of the moment that I recognize it.
Oh man. So yeah, I think that's pretty much covers that one. Try it out. Let us know what you think. Thanks for stopping by. Do all the YouTube things, the liking and the subscribing. Big thanks for the coach in general for being here. And why don't you say it?
Hey, come down and train. Like, you get them from guard and all types of stuff, where like mine only come from like a dominant, like I never submit from a non-dominant position.
Right.
So I have to work my way. It's a lot more. I have to work my way to the positions that I submit from, you know?
Right.
So like 90% of it is me getting to that position, which like I'll take like one step and then you'll push me back. Then I'll take two steps and then you'll push me back. And then sometimes I get all the way to the position and then you push me back. Like into like, you know, it's like, it's like, what's that one? Candyland. Like,
or shoots and ladders.
Shoots and ladders,
Yeah. I feel like it's the psychological aspect of it too, right? It's like if I know that you're like almost, it's like no.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it's like huge. I like that's the biggest part of it. It's like fuck, dude, because like it's so much work just to like pass the guard.
Yeah.
Right. And then when you pass the guard, you want to take a breath, but then there's the buggy. Right. And then it's like fuck. And then like, you know, taking the back now, which was like my ace. Like I didn't take your back. I didn't get your back not once today. You know. And it's like but like even my arm lock, that's very good. Like my best way into it is from the back. Yeah. Like that's my easiest way to get to an arm lock is from the back.
Well, yeah, I'm only like getting out because you got me so many times with it.
Right. Yeah.
That's what happened. I mean, like so my experience, like if I have like experience meter for like each position. It's like my armbar defense was like you hit me with that armbar like fucking 10 times in a row over like 2 rolls. So like now I have like 10,000 experience points in armbar defense. Like, do you think anybody else is gonna give me an armbar?
No.
So you want to run? I have an idea. It's like, yeah. Now I have like a little bit more. Like we did it once, so I thought I could get better.
Yes.
All right. Ready?